gone. He just got married. So he's gone off track. So I learned that people do go off track within 2 days of marriage. So this Abhyasi has been coming to me for the last 6 years. And I see drastic change within 2 days of marriage. So anyway, I think a lot of people here are experienced people, so I don't need to say anything more. Right. No problem. Let us continue now. Any other question that you want to ask in 49, 50? So the second paragraph 49, one of the essentials in the making of a man engaged in spiritual pursuit is moderation. Please underline that. And the next line, you have to underline that. What is moderation? It means balance in all the senses and faculties, nothing more or less than what is naturally required at the time for any specific purpose without its slightest impression on the mind. That is called as moderation. That's the definition of moderation. So now generally we don't find moderation nowadays because we strengthen our thoughts by our force, by paying attention. And now go to the next paragraph, 50th. Realization is not possible unless balance and moderations are restored. So realization is not possible unless dash and dash are restored. That's another question. So at the time of creation, we were in a perfectly balanced state. So what then the next question, how to cultivate moderation? To cultivate moderation, we have to pay special attention to external ways of life too. The whole paragraph. Gentle, polite language, courteous dealing, sympathy, love for fellow beings, reverence to elders, unrevengeful nature, etc. These habits are greatly helpful in our making. Moderation is a characteristic of nature. That you underline. Moderation is a characteristic of nature. Underline that. That entire paragraph is about moderation. So if you want to kind of look at moderation, page number 50, half century. Keep that in mind. Moderation, half century. You are balanced exactly. It's come in 50th page. So that means 50-50. You can remember that. Moderation means 50-50. 50th page. Okay. You remember the 50-50 biscuit, you will remember moderation. Okay. Lastly, the most important and unfailing means of success is the prayer. Now underline that. It connects our link with the God. Prayer is the connecting link between human and God. Underline that. To whom we surrender with love and devotion. Now, today morning, one of the Kannada Abhyasis asked this question. They had asked about prayer. They had asked what are the things, choose one word from answers for the prayer, how to do prayer. So, devotion, love, and two other words. And apparently, this candidate wrote devotion, and the answer was love. And then she was complaining. So, we told her not to worry too much about those kinds of things. Generally, remember one thing, people are very, accommodative in correcting. They don't do correction in a very strict manner. We are very generous. Even though the answer might have given us love, if we see that the devotion is there, devotion is also a correct answer only according to the book. So the marks is still given, no? So not to worry too much about it. Okay? So go there with a generous heart. I think if you are generous in terms of what you do, I think the marks also will be generous coming your way. So keep that in mind. Okay? That's why we say condition of the heart, condition of mind, both is necessary to pass the exam. And most of the people think it's an intellectual exercise. No. When you go and sit there for the exam with a generous heart, the mind will come under the influence of the heart and will start give you the answer. The heart will start working through the mind and give you the answers. Okay? So heart's condition is also important for our passing the exams. In prayer, of course, that the whole paragraph is about prayer. There are few lines which I want you to underline. In prayer, we stand before Him as a humble supplicant, presenting to Him our true state and completely resigning ourselves to His will. We should always pray to the Supreme Master alone, with a mind totally absorbed in love and submission to Him, forgetting even ourselves altogether. Now, that's another underline that. When is the prayer seldom go unanswered, unrewarded? When we do the prayer in such a state that we actually forget ourselves, the prayer seldom goes unanswered. So whatever you wish for in the prayer will come to fructification. But when we forget ourselves in the prayer, okay. Then lastly, so there are multiple paths. It's only Raja Yoga that can lead you to the highest. I told you about it yesterday. So there are the path of knowledge, path of service, path of devotion, and path of Raja Yoga, meditation. It's only Raja Yoga that can take you to the highest. Remember that. Okay. All the other paths will only can take you somewhere in between, not to the highest. Okay. So that's the gist of that particular paragraph. Now we are going to 53, 54, 55. Anything that you want to ask in 53, 54, 55? So first paragraph in the Guru, the chapter, Babaji says only by self-effort we can go to some extent. But we cannot reach the highest by self-effort. Of course, later on he writes, there are two ways to approach God. One by self-effort, other one is through the Guru. But the self-effort path is very tedious, very laborious. The path through the Guru is very, very direct and easy. And that's why we follow the path through the Guru in our system. And then the difference between the Guru in a material world versus a Guru in the spiritual world. In the material world, as and when we develop the capacity to understand and grasp things, the need for the Guru comes down. But in the spiritual world, as we go higher and higher, since the experiences are more subtle and subtle, and we are not in, we are incapable of handling those subtle situations, the need for the Guru's support is unavoidable. Very, very important. Secondly, for us to progress in spirituality, the Guru's power is necessary for him to push us. Otherwise, we get stuck in the intricacies of the web between 2 points. Okay, that also comes later in the book, in the same chapter. So that's the second thing. He uses his power to pull us out of these intricacies and then push us ahead in the journey. And the third thing is the last part of the journey is entirely down to the Guru. We have no role. Up to self-realization, we have a role. But the self-realization to the Bhuma realization, we have no role. In other words, the journey through the 7 rings of splendor in the central region, it's entirely up to Guru. Okay. In other words, the higher we go, less of self-effort, more of Guru. Okay. So at the first point, it's like we are the 100 and the Guru is 0 when we start meditation. Then we become 99, Guru becomes 1. As we progress higher and higher, when we come to the 8th point, it's like 50-50. 8th point is like 50-50. In other words, till 8th point, the Guru's role gradually increases, our role gradually decreases. But still, at the 8th point, Guru is 51, we are 51, Guru is 49. Remember that. I'm giving you numbers so that it's easy to remember. Because most of the people are confused about self-effort versus Guru. Okay. Now, it's in the 9th point, the balance shifts. In the 9th point, the Guru is 51 and we become 49. And then from the 9th point up to 13th point, it's like we gradually decrease further. Guru becomes 100, we become 0. And in the central region, it's entirely Guru only. Because by the time we enter the central region, we have become 0. So I hope there is no confusion between the role of the Guru versus self-effort. Many people, many abhyasis and many preceptors still have this confusion about the role of the Guru versus self-effort. They confuse that if they depend entirely on the Guru, there is no need for them to do any self-effort. So when an abhyasi says that, I'll tell him, okay, keep a food in front of you, plate of food, don't eat. Wait for the Guru to come and feed you. If your devotion has reached such a level where the Guru is compelled to come and feed you, I will agree with that there is no need for self-effort. But after fasting for 24 hours, you see that nobody is coming and feeding you. Then you realize that the role for your own self-effort is there as of now, along with the support of the Guru. Okay. So we should not confuse between self-effort and the lore of the Guru at different stages. Till the 12th point, some degree of self-effort is necessary. It is just that the amount of self-effort gradually decreases as we go higher and higher, and the role of the Guru increases. And that is the difference. In the material life, the role of the Guru gradually decreases. And in spiritual life, without the Guru, reaching to the highest is almost impossible. Okay? So even those people who can reach the highest without the help of the Guru, they already come prepared from the past life. That is what enables them to reach to God without the help of the Guru. But that they are so few in number. For all general practical purposes, the role of the Guru is very, very important, especially the living Guru. Okay. Anyway, other thing is the entire journey in spirituality is based on practicality. So we don't require a theoretical Guru. What we require is a Guru who has actually experienced the conditions and gone through these stages practically, and then they can help us out, understand our predicament, and then pull us out when necessary, based on their experience. This is the role of the Guru. So there is the example of Maulana Rumi, 18 books. So just remember that you don't need to know about it. It's just that Maulana Rumi refuses to, the saint refuses to teach Maulana Rumi until he throws all his books. So that is the gist of it. And so there is a saying in, what do you say, in Viveka Chudamani, Shankaracharya writes, you cannot realize the self by reading books. And after having realized the self, you don't require the books. Okay? So either way, you don't require the books. Books are there only as a support. They are not the primary thing. The primary thing is your practice and experience. Remember peace. PEAS. I told you recently. Practice to experience with awareness and sensitivity. PEAS. Practice to experience with awareness and sensitivity. And that is what leads you to the goal. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ ಕಣ್ರಿ ನಿಜಲಿಂಗಪ್ಪ ಅವರೇ, ನೀವು ಜಾಯಿನ್ ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಿ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಜಯ್ ಕುಮಾರ್ ಬರಲಿಲ್ಲ, ಅದ್ರ ಬದಲಿಗೆ ನೀವು ಬಂದಿದ್ದೀರಿ.
Thank you, sir.
ನಮಸ್ತೆ. Actual realization comes only after training in the realm of practice. That please underline that line. Second paragraph 54. Actual realization comes only after training in the realm of practice. The Guru is the connecting link between God and man. Now see, in the previous chapter we read prayer is the connecting link between God and man. Now we are reading the Guru is the connecting link between God and man. So both are correct. So depending on which answer is given in your choose, you have to choose that correctly. Okay. So if that Guru is not there, only prayer is there, you have to choose prayer. If prayer is not there, only Guru is there, you have to choose Guru. Both are correct. Okay. He is the only power that can extricate us from the intricacies of on the path. Then what is a chakra? That definition they might ask. Chakras are the centers of concentrated energy of the real power of divine force inherited by man. Underline that. 55 page number. Now he talks about the intervening spaces. Between the two chakras, in the intervening space, it is characterized as a network of interwoven by numerous intricate fibers. What is there between the two chakras? A network of interwoven numerous intricate fibers. So as we proceed along, we have to pass through these entanglements of the intervening layers. We have to stay there for a long time to complete the bhoga. Bhoga, now the definition of bhoga, next, underline that, the entire sentence there. Bhoga does not only mean undergoing the effect of our past actions, but it also really means passing through the process of unfolding of the intricacies of the point which we have already arrived at. In other words, one minute. In other words, bhoga also means unfolding of the intricacies of the point. In other words, the opening of the conditions of the particular point. That is also part of the bhoga. Tell me.
Brother, you mentioned about chakras, no? Uh, they are the energy points you have it is mentioned here.
Oh,
Um, Scientifically or biologically, how these points are there, brother?
see, scientifically, as of now, we have not reached a realm where we can actually study the consciousness independently. So we have not reached that realm. Now, the real power that Babuji is talking about, energy of the real power, that is even beyond the consciousness. So, if you want to kind of look at it from a scientific perspective, we have not reached that stage from a science perspective. But from an experiential perspective, we are able to reach that stage. So,
Okay.
this is from an experiential perspective, not from a scientific, what to say, uh, uh, perspective where we can measure with some instruments. No, this is something that can be experienced. From that perspective, we can actually relate to it. Okay. So just keep that in mind. And as you do the practical perceptor work, you will also gain an experience of all these things.
Mhm.
Okay.
Energy point means they are having some energy associated with it. Nothing.
Real power is different and the energy body is different. Don't confuse between the two.
Okay.
This is at a different realm altogether. So if you want to kind of talk about it, this is at the realm between the Vijnanamaya Kosha and the Karana Sharira.
Uh-huh.
That is where it is. And what energy thing that we talk about in the seven chakras is in the energy body. Energy body is different, and our chakras is in a different realm altogether. That's at a spiritual level. This is at a subtle level. Okay, we can talk about
Okay.
it outside the session. Otherwise, we'll get dragged into that. We'll just cover this
Okay.
thing as far as the examination is concerned. So, underlying the bhoga, bhoga does not only mean undergoing the effects of past actions, but also really means passing through the process of unfolding of the intricacies of the point which we have already arrived at. Both of them. In other words, opening up of the conditions at the point where we have arrived at, both are together called as bhoga. Now, if we do not, there are points where we have to undergo the bhoga for a long time. So it will become very difficult for us to get out of it by the self effort. So what Guru does is that he utilizes his power to kind of pull us out of that place. And the other role of the Guru is that there are many conditions where the conditions are very slippery. You move two steps up, you slip down three steps. So the Guru actually provides a support under those conditions to make sure that we does not slip. Under the circumstances, it is only the forceful push of a worthy master that can bring us out of this whirlpool where we are in a slippery condition. So these are all the importance of the Guru. Okay. Then, so who should be the Guru like? The next paragraph. How should be the Guru like? What should be the character of the Guru that we are going to select? The guide we select must be one of the highest caliber and worthy of the task of tearing off the intricacies at a glance with the aid of extraordinary power at his command. That is, it can only be he who has himself attained perfection or complete negation of the self. Hence, we must connect ourselves with such a great power by feeling feelings of love and attraction. So that entire thing is how the guru should be. Now, this is nothing to do with how to identify the guru. That comes later in a different chapter. This is how the guru should be. Okay, please mark that. So, what is it that Babuji writes about how the guru should be? That's what you are going to write this answer. It does not matter much what conception of man we entertain him in our mind. He can be a guru, he can be a friend, a brother, a sister, or a father, mother, lover, whatever. But he still is a guru for us. Okay. So unfortunately, selection of the guru is a very difficult thing as of now in our Hinduism. Gurudom is a very profitable job. Not only they get command high respect, but they also expect personal services from their disciples. So we are now in the 57th page number. The petty miracle of an ordinary display of something charming or attractive is enough to attract hundreds of these silly sheep to their fold of Gurudam. A simple threat to pronounce a curse upon one also happens to displease them, may bring thousands of men into abject subjugation or submission. So he is now talking about what kind of different gurus that we have got. And there are gurus who declare that the guru can only be a sannyasi or cannot be a householder. That's also a wrong notion. So remember, the one who becomes a guru or a spiritual leader can be of any caste, any creed, any language, any well-read and unread, or none of these characters actually matter. It is all kind of impertinent to note that the spiritual energy can manifest in anybody at any time without the need for any qualification. So that's something to remember. Okay. So he calls Jagat Gurus are professional imposters who are ashamed to the nation and religion, roaming about with a complete impunity to cheat and defraud the ignorant public in order to serve their own selfish ends. Now, the last line in this particular paragraph, 58, Guru Dharma as a monopoly of a privileged class is only an absurdity introduced by the professional gurus to safeguard their personal interests. Shankaracharya writes, only a person who is born in a Brahmin caste can attain self-realization, sakshatkar, or mukti. And that is what Babuji is talking about, that it's an absurdity to say that a person can only uh, be a guru only if they are coming from a particular community or caste. Okay, now that's an absurdity. Okay, the popularly held belief principle that a disciple can never break off from the sacred connection is also a cunning device. The practice of initiating a disciple has been much abused by most of the modern day professionals. Their only function as a guru is to breath a few mystical words into the ear of the disciple at the time of initiation or tell them few certain ceremonial practices by way of worship. Their duty to the disciple ends here. Nothing remains of them to do for the betterment of the disciple except to give them their darshan every year and get their annual tribute from with him. This is what most of the people do, annual visits. Now look at our system, look at how things are. Even when you go to Sadhguru system, even when you go to Ravi Shankar Guruji system, they give you courses, 2 day course, 3 day course, 1 week course. You go to Vipassana course. And I've heard all these courses. Where is a system where you are actually called to take sittings week on week to see how things are progressing with you, versus a system where they teach you for 2 days and then nobody bothers to look at what has happened to you over the next 1 year. That's of no use. And people go to those places because it's very convenient. So out of 365 days, they have to give 2 days and they can just pay some money and get something done. And they feel that that's spirituality. So just imagine if educated people fall trap or fall prey to this, what about the uneducated people? So it is an absurdity. And now Sadhguru's ashram has become a tourist place. Our KSTDC and KSRTC run tourist packages there, 1 day tour. And do you think that you are going to get spirituality by going on a 1 day tour to ashram? What nonsense. So in other words, people get more enamored by the grosser things than by subtler things. Ours is a very subtle system. And many people find it difficult to relate to it. But it's such a wonderful system because it can take you to the highest in one life. But remember one thing, it is very easy to get people attracted to grosser things because that's their nature. But getting people attracted to the subtler things is a real challenge. And there, unless we have the stuff within us, the power of attraction, that also comes later on in this book only. A yogi should have the power of attraction. Then people will get attracted to the subtle system. All of us, as we become perceptors, we should train ourselves to become points of attraction. Okay, when we become points of attraction, then you know that the people who are around you are also inclined towards subtlety. Now, you cannot attract people when we ourselves are gross. When we become subtle inside, we can attract people who are tending towards subtlety. That's what happens. Okay. Anyway, now the next paragraph, I think the entire paragraph A disciple should formally be initiated only when the true faith exists in him and divine love takes prime root in the heart. What is initiation? That is also another thing. So that you can just mark that as a paragraph of initiation, 58. Initiation signifies that the disciple's link has been connected with the supreme power. Okay. The supreme force then begins to flow to the disciple automatically according to the absorbing capacity he develops in himself. Now underline that. The supreme power flows to the Abhyasi directly based on the capacity of absorption of the Abhyasi. Now the capacity to absorb, the absorption capacity is based on the practice of the Abhyasi. It's nothing to do with the Guru. But there's one interesting thing, I'll just give a clue. When you take sitting salah, there's one thing that a preceptor can do to work on the absorption capacity. But that you will learn when you pass the exam. So I hope that you all clear the exam and then come to learn all these things. I just met a person today morning. One person from Banishangri came for sitting. He just finished the training in Kana and came back. He came to give some prasad. So he said only 1 day training was there, and they just went through in such a breeze. We are still kind of unsure what to do, what not to do. I said not to worry. All these things will be there. You will just get grounded. There are a lot of things to learn in the first 1 to 2 years. See, passing engineering does not make you qualified for the industry level work. Passing industry engineering is only a certificate that you get. After that, you need to join a different company and get trained in that company in various skills. Then gradually you will get absorbed into one particular stream. Right? That's exactly what happens in every field. So there is no difference here also. So when you go to Ghana, get the training and come back, you just kind of got that certificate and then 1 day training. Now you have to come back here and then do the rest of the training. It gives you license for the rest of the training. And people who came back from Ghana shared wonderful experiences. And now they are telling just that experience is enough for us to strive for clearing the exam. These people are people who attempted twice and thrice. So after coming back from Ghana, they're so happy that they said even writing the exam 3 4 times is also okay for that experience in Ghana. Okay, so none of you I want you to feel dejected. You will actually feel very satisfied when you go there. But put in the effort necessary as far as the time is concerned now. Okay. So what is the basic thing? If the spiritual force begins to flow to the Abhyasi automatically in accordance to the absorbing capacity he develops in himself. It depends much upon the power and capability of the master to establish a sound connection, for which high caliber is needed. A sound connection once established shall continue as long as the disciple does not secure liberation. So that's another thing. The sound connection continues till the disciple gets the liberation. If the disciple is initiated in the right sense by a guru of high caliber, the question of breaking off from him can never arise. Please underline that also. Next line, 59, first line, paragraph. I hold it to be the birthright of every man to break off the connection from the guru at any time if he finds that he has made the wrong decision or he has misjudged the guru's capacity or worth. So please underline. On the next paragraph, first line, on the other hand, a conscientious guru must himself, under the circumstance, direct his disciple to seek another for more advanced and better qualified, so that the disciple may not in any way suffer progress. This is the sacred duty of a true and selfless guru. So the guru is free from breaking away from the guru. The disciple is free from breaking away from the guru. No moral or religious law ever forbids him from doing so. Please underline that. So now he talks about some classes of the guru. So people who teach and preach on the basis of their knowledge of the Shastras and other books. People give sermons on Brahman. They ask them numerous intricate questions. And if the disciple feels that the guru is able to answer those intricate questions, they feel they're in a very nice state and they accept them as a guru. So the next paragraph in the 61st page, it must well be borne in mind that it is not learning of knowledge that makes a man perfect, but it is only realization in the right sense that makes a true yogi or saint. Please underline that. So who is a true yogi or saint? One who has had realization in the right sense. Knowledge, therefore, is no criteria for a true Mahatma or a yogi. Similarly, the real test of a Mahatma or a Guru is not his miracles or extraordinary ways or manners, but only his practical attainments on the path of realization. So essentially, the Guru should be realized and also knows has practical attainments on the path of realization. He should know both. He should have realized, and he should also know have practical attainments on the path of realization. Now, the next paragraph: who is a Mahatma? I would define Mahatma as the most insignificant being, rather a neglected figure beyond all feelings of greatness, pride, and egoism, dwelling permanently in a state of complete self negation. That is the definition of a Mahatma. So you might get that. Who is a Mahatma? There are some who hold the view that knowledge being the primary preliminary stage of realization is essential and indispensable. I do not agree with them. On the grounds that knowledge is only an achievement of the brain, whereas realization is the awakening of the soul. Please underline that. Knowledge is an achievement of the brain. Realization is the awakening of the soul. What is realization? Awakening of the soul. In books on spiritual science, we can read much about the conditions of the mind of various spiritual stages and get acquainted with them. But as regards practical attainments, we are far away from them. So knowing about it at a mind level is different. Experiencing at a heart level is different. Okay, even for example, if you read spiritual anatomy and by heart everything that is given there, knowing at a mind level is different, and actually experiencing at a heart level is different. Now, if you have experienced it at a heart level, you will be able to transmit it to the Abhyasi. If you have attained it at the mind level, you cannot transmit. You can, of course, impart knowledge at the mind level. If we have grasp at the mind level, we can actually make the mind modified in the Abhyasi. If we have a grasp at the heart level, we can change the heart in the Abhyasi. So it depends on our level of attainment. Okay? Now the next one. We attend lectures and sermons on the Gita. They recite the various things and explain. Has anyone been able to acquire practically any one of the conditions depicted in it? They just repeat the words. World is Maya, man is Brahma. But inwardly, they are quite unconscious of what they speak in words. None of them have ever been able to develop the conditions discussed therein, just as Arjuna did when he heard it from Lord Krishna. What did Lord Krishna do in Bhagavad Gita? Not only he talks about the condition to Arjuna, he immediately transmits the condition to Arjuna to lift his mind up. This is what happens. So Krishna talks about a condition, immediately he imparts that condition transmits that condition to the heart of Arjuna. Lord Krishna had actually transmitted the very conditions explained by words of mouth into the heart of Arjuna. With the result that Arjuna was literally feeling the same condition prevailing all over, both within and without. Thus, it was every word which he heard descended right into the heart, producing a permanent effect. But Babaji is writing permanent effect, but I can tell you the effect of Lord Krishna's teaching on Arjuna's heart lasted only for 5 days. After that, he forgot. But Krishna had achieved his purpose. Krishna wanted to change the Arjuna's mind. Arjuna says, I don't want to fight. Now Krishna is in a predicament. He has said that he is not going to pick up any Ayudha. Now this fellow, who he depended on, now he is kind of running away, saying that I don't want to fight. So how to get the war done? Krishna is in a predicament. So Krishna is forced to tell Bhagavad Gita Arjuna. Because he has to get his job done by Arjuna. Arjuna is the means. Krishna is the one who is leading, what do you say, controlling from behind. But you still require the means, no? So Krishna transmits the condition just enough to lift the mind of the Arjuna from a Pinda Pradesh to the Brahmanda. And when Arjuna sees his condition from the state of Brahmanda, his what to say condition on earth from the state of Brahmanda, he gets the right perspective regarding what to do. The difference is when Arjuna says, I don't want to fight, he is looking at his current situation from the first point. When Arjuna says, no, I'm ready to fight, he is looking at the same situation from the sixth point. That's all the difference is. So Krishna gave that conditions transmitted to the Arjuna, lifted him point by point, took him to the sixth point, and from there he made him look at him. Then Arjuna, by naturally, he felt, okay, I'll fight now. That's all that happened. See, this is the beauty of the work. Anyway, uh, the cause of the failure of the modern teachers of the Gita to produce the desired effect is their lack of power to transmit those conditions. You might give sermons about Gita, but if you cannot transmit that condition to the listener, then it's of no use. The various conditions of the mind discussed in the Gita are really different stages that a man comes across during his march on the path of spirituality. Please underline that. The various conditions of the mind described in the Gita are really the different stages that a man comes across during his march on the path of spirituality. They developed automatically from within. Formal means adopted to acquire a particular state of mind at a premature stage increases the internal grossness which is detrimental to our progress. This paragraph from the various conditions till the end of the paragraph, the progress, please underline that. Any of those things can actually come as question to you. So who is a real teacher? Real teacher is the one who what we stand in need of from a guru is a true impulse. A real teacher is the one who can give a true impulse to affect the awakening of the soul and his direct support in the course of our further march on the path of realization. That is the role of a real guru. To affect by a true impulse, affect the awakening of the soul and supports the disciples' course on the march to the on the path of realization. On the disciples' march on the path of realization, the guru has to support. Who can be a guru? A person who himself is free from himself free can free you from the eternal bondage. Only that person can free you. If they themselves are entangled, how can they free you? Then he talks about how the guru should not be. If you submit yourself to such a guru who does not have the gurudom capability, you are sure to inherit the same feeling of pride, which is the worst type of grossness and is sure to hamper your spiritual advancement. Liberation is never possible as long as this evil exists. Evil is a self-pride. Self-pride is one of the worst form of grossness. So as long as the self-pride exists, there is no question of liberation. If you want to get liberation, you need to stabilize in the state of selflessness. And self-pride is an impediment to develop that state of selflessness. Okay. Now he defines spirituality. What is spirituality? Spirituality is in fact such a superfine state of mind that every other thing will seem to be heavier or grosser in comparison to it. The delicate feeling caused by on the senses by the sweet smell of the rose is far heavier. I may express it the spiritual. Now he continues. What is spirituality? Spirituality is I may express it as a state of perfect tranquility and moderation in complete harmony with nature. What happens in this state? In this state of mind, all senses and faculties are in a sleeping or dormant state. Their working becomes automatic, bearing no impression upon the mind. Perfect peace is one of the highest stage, is one of its high stages, although the real thing is still onwards when even the consciousness of peace fails. So from the spirituality, what is spirituality is that paragraph. Please keep that in mind. If you get that, how does Babuji talk about spirituality? This is the answer to that. So we go on to the next page. I'm just looking at the time. We have another meeting at 8 o'clock. So after this, we have to go there. When we are really quite unconscious of the very presence of peace we are in a true sense free from the impression or the weight of that feeling. The condition at this stage is very peculiar. It is neither anandam nor otherwise. Words fail to express this. Such is the condition that we have to finally arrive at, for which he alone is a capable guru who is permanently abiding in the condition described above and has the power and capacity to transmit by his will force the spiritual state into the heart of the Abhyasi and to remove complexities and obstructions therefrom. None below this level is fit to impart spiritual training to others. Babuji writes, only people who have reached at least up to the Brahmanda Mandal have the capability to teach others, not otherwise. And in our system, it's not about teaching, it's about transmitting that condition to the heart of the Abhyasi. That's what we do. That's why when you become preceptors, Lalaji gives you connection so that Lalaji's transmission can flow through us. That is what is given to us. A connection is established so that the transmission can easily flow through us. The living master's transmission can easily flow through us. It's a matter of greatest regret that the process of yogic transmission originated and widely practiced by our eight senses has gone into complete oblivion in the very land of its origin. People confuse between transmission and hypnotism. I have explained this point, mesmerism or hypnotism. I have explained this point in my book, Efficacy of Raj Yoga. Please underline that. Transmission versus hypnotism or mesmerism. That could be one of the questions. I may assure you that the spiritual training for the attainment of higher stages is only possible by the process of yogic transmission and by no other means. Then he now talks about the difference between transmission and automatic radiation. It generally happens when you are in the company of Mahatma or a saint that you are at some point relieved of your disturbing thoughts and feel comparatively calm for a while. This they claim to be due to the effect of the transmission by the Mahatma. Those who offer this explanation mean only to deceive the public with a view to whitewashing their incapability. What they interpret as transmission is really the automatic radiation of the pious paramanus or fine particles from the Mahatma. Okay? Then it affects all those who are assembled there with the result that calmness pervades to some extent as long as they are there. It is only a natural process and has nothing to do with transmission. So in this paragraph, he's talking about the difference between transmission versus the radiation. Now he says not only the Mahatmas can transmit it, the radiation can radiate their effect. Even the people who are pious or wicked or saintly or devilish people can also radiate their condition. If you are for some time with an impious or morally degraded person, you also find similar impious thoughts, paramanus, radiating from him and affecting you, with the result that you will find your thoughts also flowing in the same channel for the time being. The effect of this is another point, underline this point now. The effect of such radiation remains only for a little while and disappears when you are away from it. This is a clue that it's a radiation. Radiation does not induce any change in you, either in your behavior or in your personality, on your outlook of life. None of those things will happen. But with transmission, all these three things will change. Your behavior will change, your way of approaching life will change, outlook of life will change, your personality will change, the condition of the mind and heart will change. So many things changes with transmission. With radiation, none of those things happen. It's a temporary effect as long as you are there with that particular person. After that, the effect is gone. Okay. This is the reason why often religious teachers are found to be making complaints of the indifference of their people who follow what they preach to them. The reason why the religious teachers are not able to make that impact is they do not have the capability or power to transmit what he means to preach from the platform. Now, the next thing he explains about Sankirtans. A peaceful atmosphere created on such occasions of Sankirtans is claimed to be due to transmission. Now, the difference between Sankirtans, effect of Sankirtans versus transmission. In Sankirtans, it is really the result of vibration produced by the sound of the singing in a chorus. That is the effect of the Sankirtan. So that produces a nice state or a peaceful state. Now, Lalit Babuji says that we experience similar condition when you go to music concerts. And why does that occur? Our mind is mostly focused on one and the same thing, which is in our view. We are thus, for the time being, unmindful of other things. That's why we feel nice and peaceful. In Sankirtan, as our thoughts are located on some pious ideal, we begin to feel the same thing in our heart automatically. It's nothing to do with transmission. So this is another difference. How to differentiate between transmission versus Sankirtan. In Sankirtan, it's because of the result of vibration produced by the sound of singing in a chorus. Now he talks about transmission itself. Transmission is a yogic attainment of a very high order by which a yogi can infuse by his own willpower the yogic energy or godly effulgence within anyone and remove anything unwanted in him detrimental to their spiritual progress. That is the definition of transmission. What is transmission? That's where he's defining. And the next thing, he can exercise not only on those people who are near to him, assembled around him, but also on others who are away from him, which the radiation cannot do. Okay. Now the power can be utilized in any way, in any time, at any time. This is the third one. The power can be utilized in any way at any time. One who has got command over that power can at a glance create temporarily or permanently a condition of the mind which is far ahead of the existing condition of the mind of an Abhyasi, which otherwise will require a lifetime to be achieved. That is the effect of Pranahuti. Sages have often, through power of transmission, changed the entire nature of the man at a mere glance. And Babaji gives examples of Vivekananda, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, Lalaji Maharaj, and others as an example for that. All these people had a capacity to transmit. Every yogi or saint has got his own level of attainment and self-elevation. So this is another thing. If we attach to a yogi who has attained to a certain level, we can only grow to that level. We cannot go beyond that. Very similar to if we attach ourselves to one god who is at one realm, we can only go to that realm. Beyond that, we cannot go. Because the god themselves cannot go. So we need to attach ourselves to somebody who has attained the highest. Then we can also go to the highest. Okay. Now, who is a spiritual guru? Ordinarily, a spiritual guru should never consider himself for fit for training others unless he has secured his approach up to Brahmanda Mandala. That's what I was telling earlier on. At least. It's also known as Virat Desha, where everything appears in the subtle form before it actually takes place in this material world. Okay. So the guru should have access at least to Brahmanda Mandala or Virat Desha. What happens before anything happens on earth? Those things manifest at that realm in the astral form, subtler form. When a teacher has connected himself with that plane or sphere, he is constantly in touch with the inexhaustible storehouse of power. On the other hand, if a man takes up the job of training others in spirituality before acquiring this stage, he not only begins to lose his own power, but is contaminated with the samskaras and grossness of others under his training. So there are two risks. The man loses his power also, and they also get impacted by the samskaras of others. With the result that they very soon he himself gets spoiled. In our mission, permission to impart training is not generally granted at this stage even. Okay. Now the next one. Really, a man is fit for work of training only when he does not entertain in his heart the slightest impression of being a teacher or a guru. I believe the idea of being a guru crosses the mind even once in his life he becomes unworthy of being a guru for all his life. The very presence of this idea shows that he cherishes in his heart of feeling self-importance or greatness. Okay. The consciousness of being a master soon develops into pride and the crudest form of ahankara. So the consciousness of being a master gradually converts into self-pride, gets converted into ahankara, which is a grossness. So real guru is only God. God is the only real guru or master, and we get light from him alone. Please underline that line. So the master should himself treat himself as the humblest servant of God, serving humanity in the name of the great master. Great master here is God. There will thus be no room for ahankara and for its resultant events. A guru or teacher must therefore banish from his heart even the slightest feeling of greatness and superiority and consider himself as the humblest associate or a servant of the humanity. That should be the attitude of the guru. Humblest servant or associate of humanity. My master was a revered example of that. Throughout his life, he treated his associate as brethren. The idea that they were his disciples never once crossed his mind. He was ever ready to offer his personal services even to his disciples, and very often he did it without letting it come to their knowledge. I think and feel that it's an essential thing for the Guru to give up masterly position and feel himself an ordinary servant of humanity. So the Guru should not take personal comfort or personal services from the disciples, but should be ready to do the personal services to the disciple. So most of the so-called gurus nowadays encourage the practice because it offers them personal comfort and feeds their vanity. They say that by touching the feet of the guru or by massaging his limbs, the magnetic currents pass on from the guru to the disciple, thus helping the disciple to form pious samskaras. Thus, by this practice, the disciple draws in much of the purity and piety from the master. It may be true, but let me question them for a while whether the same thing is not possible if the guru renders the same service to the disciple. Rather than this disciple massaging the guru, why not the guru massage the disciple's feet? The same service will happen, the same magnetic current will flow, but they don't want to encourage that. I think none can ever deny that. Evidently, then the motive at the back is nothing but personal comfort and ease. In my opinion, humble opinion, the process should now be reversed in accordance with the need of the time, and the guru should himself render such services to his disciples. Really, the position of the guru is very strange. If he feels himself as a master and hence far above his associates, it will be ahankar of the worst type. It is really up to the disciple to devote himself to the service of his guru with love and devotion, and not the right and privilege of the guru to demand it. Then he gives an example. You can read that paragraph example of a disciple approaching the guru and how the disciple responded after guru gave him what all things is expected out of him. The last paragraphs, we often come across instances of jealousies and frictions between guru and disciples. A guru must therefore necessarily be quite devoid of any personal motive of selfish interest. So if you come to Brahmanda as a minimum qualification, you would have established yourself in the stage of selflessness. Then there is no question of a personal motive of selfish interest. That is what happens. He must be totally free from all the feelings of pride and greatness. He must be a selfless man and a true servant of humanity at large, teaching people out of pure love without any ulterior selfish motive of name, fame, or money. He must thus have access up to the farthest limit and must have the power of yogic transmission. Such a man we must seek for as our guide if we want complete success. It is better to remain without a guru all the life than to submit to the guidance of an unworthy guru. Okay, I think we have covered most of it now in that. So hope you have got good clarity in that particular chapter. Okay, now just I'll post the recording. Just listen to it once more. Again, just kind of reinforce yourself. I'll also send the questions for the Heartfulness Way and for the CWRC one. Go through it as a means of just looking through the book. Search for the answers. Don't worry about the answers. Look where the answers are and become well versed with it. You will pass the exam. Okay. So tomorrow we are traveling. So we are going abroad. So for the next 1 week we'll be abroad. So I'll try to take it from there. We'll see what the connections are, how it is. But I'll message you in the group, not to worry. If I'm not there, I'll request the Kedambi brother to take the sessions for the next week till I come back. Next Sunday I'll be back. Okay. If I'm not there, Kedambi brother will take. If I'm able to take from there, I'll take it from there. Not to worry. Okay. Seripa.
Wish you all happy journey, brother.
Thank you very much. Okay. No problem. So I'll see you around either from there or after coming back. So don't waste your time. Please get ready because we all want to see you on the other side of the line. We have seen you on this side of the line enough. Now I want to see you on the other side. Okay. So please make sure that we're all in the same boat on the other side. Next slide. Okay. Yogita sister, please tell.
Brother, as we read, a sound connection once established shall continue as long as the disciples do not secure liberation. But I think the liberation we attain in the point 7, I think. So it says a sound connection. So beyond that, brother,
Beyond that,
beyond the point 7, I mean.
the connections once established, it will be there. Even after you get liberation, the connection continues. The minimum to which it will take you, that connection, is up to liberation. So if there's a master who is there, but the master shut the body and the disciple has not attained the liberation. Say at the third point, what happens? Then it is the duty of the master to make sure conditions are created for this disciple to come up to liberation. Because the connection with the master is continuous. Even after the master shut the body. It is still the duty of the master because the master has taken that responsibility. Once a guru accepts you as a disciple, no matter how many lives the disciple might take to get liberation, it is still the duty of the guru to help this disciple up to the stage of liberation. That is what it means. Okay?
Okay, brother.
Nervous system,
Thank
not
you.
to worry about it. It's a very low attainment in nervous system. Most of you will probably cross that stage, the stage of liberation. Not to worry about it. Okay? Have confidence within yourself. You will all be in the brighter world. Not to worry about it. Okay? Not only as preceptors here, but also as accompanist associates in the brighter world also. So whatever work you learn here, we will continue to do there. So don't worry. So ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಗಾದೆ ಇದೆ ಬೆಂಬಿಡದ ಭೂತ ಅಂತ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಈ ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲೂ ಬೆಂಬಿಡದ ಭೂತ ನಾವು ಆ ಲೋಕದಲ್ಲೂ ಬೆಂಬಿಡದ ಭೂತ ನಾವೇ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ ಯಾರು ಬೇರೆ ಇರಲ್ಲ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಿಡಿ ಆಯ್ತಾ ಸರಿ ಕಣ್ರಿ ನಮಸ್ತೆ ಗುಡ್ ನೈಟ್
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Have a safe journey, brother.
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸಿಸ್ಟರ್ ವಿಲ್ ಸಿ ಯುವರ್
Thank you.
ಓಕೆ ನಮಸ್ತೆ
Thank you.